Over the past 2 decades, Lloyd Banks has built, managed, and sold wildly successful nightclubs, restaurants, and bars in Texas. His razor-sharp negotiating skills, keen eye for talent, and natural business savvy made him a shark in the entertainment waters. But there was one problem for Lloyd. All this success was making him miserable. So he did the one thing that led him to true happiness. He quit. Lloyd broke free of his destructive habits, pulled himself from the darkest moments in his life, and set himself free to live a life that has brought him true happiness. Please welcome to the stage the most successful quitter you've ever met, Lloyd Banks.
It's 2009 and I am in the middle of my most successful run as an entrepreneur. I am crushing it. I own 2 large nightclubs and live music venues in 2 different cities. I own 2 other bars as well, and all of them are killing it. I'm making more money than I ever thought I'd make. I'm feeling on top of the world, and I'm just truly living the entrepreneurial dream. So I'm sitting in my office one day. It's a Wednesday afternoon, about 3 o'clock, I'll never forget, and in walks my wife of 10 years. Now, my wife rarely comes to my business, and the look on her face, it was alarming. Because there was anger, confusion, disbelief, pain. So I thought, had someone died? Did our house burn down? But she just stares at me for a while. And then finally, she says 3 words that changed my life. Who is Tiffany? This was the person that I'd become. I had thought that this was the highest point of my life, but it turned out it was the lowest. Ask yourself, who matters most to you in your life? Have you ever had a Tiffany moment that made you question your path or your values? For me, my behavior was not matching my values. Sure, I was a great provider, but I wasn't living up to being a good husband, a good father, or a good friend. I was working 70 to 80 plus hours a week. I didn't see my kid as much as I'd like. I didn't help out around the house. I didn't call my family or friends. I was miserable. My marriage was in trouble. I drank too much, and I was living this incredibly unhealthy lifestyle. Something had to give. Vince Lombardi said, "Winners never quit and quitters never win." But I disagree. Quitting is all about context. For example, imagine if that was his opening line at an AA meeting. Wouldn't go over so well, right? My point is from a young age, we are told that we should never quit. But what I think we should be told is to quit the bad and keep the good. I believe in order to succeed, you have to quit. But it is what and how you quit that matters here. To quote Richie Norton, like creating a masterpiece, quitting is an art. You have to decide what to keep within the frame and what to keep out. So what did I do? Well, I quit the bad. My marriage was more important to me than being a club owner, where my job often felt like babysitting adults who couldn't handle their liquor. And let's face it, managing my own behavior was like herding drunk cats on roller skates. Now, as I say that, I want to stress to you that the purpose of my talk is not to tell you to quit your job. It's to tell you to quit your bad behaviors, your toxic relationships, your bad mindsets and habits, or whatever it is that's holding you back. Because what I really quit when I let go of the nightclub lifestyle was neglecting the people in my life that really mattered. That's what I quit. I was born to be an entrepreneur. I mean, I love being an entrepreneur. I just needed to find a way to be an entrepreneur without compromising my values. And it would take me a lot of time to finally figure out how to achieve this. One of my favorite quotes, "Not all storms come to disrupt your life. Some come to clear your path." What do you need to let go of so that you can move forward in your life? So by show of hands, who here has a bad habit that they're still trying to quit? Now look, if you're not raising your hand, you are either Jesus, my wife who is perfect in every sense, love you honey, or you're lying to yourself. We all have things that would make our lives better if they weren't in it. But one of the hardest things to do in life is to take a good, hard look at yourself in the mirror and see yourself for the flawed human being that you are. But once you do that, you'll be able to admit to yourself that you need to quit those things that aren't bringing you happiness and harmony. And only then will you be able to break your negative patterns. I call it strategic simplification. So to understand how I'd gotten to the lowest point in my life, we have to go back in time. When I began to re-examine things, I found out that I had experienced strategic simplification quite a few times before, only I didn't realize it back then. You see, I grew up in Amarillo, Texas, and you could argue that that was my biggest problem. My grades were not great. I was bored at school, skipping class. My friends and I had been getting into some trouble. And I knew that if things continued this way, it was probably going to get real bad. But it all changed when I was 14 years old. See, I was a tennis nut. And a young 16-year-old named Andre Agassi and his brother Phil came to a little pro tournament in my hometown. And Andre had a significant impact on me. I mean, come on, the hair, the earring, the attitude, it spoke to me. Andre and Phil stayed at my house for 4 days, and they told me that if I was serious about tennis, I should get out of Amarillo and go train at Nick Bollettieri's tennis academy in Bradenton, Florida. So I packed my bags, I left my friends and my life back in Texas to spend my junior and senior years of high school at the academy. I had to quit everything that was comfortable and bad for me to go chase my dream. And this was the first time that I quit without knowing the real value and potential in quitting. But nobody said that quitting is easy, and it tested me. I mean, the academy was hard. We woke up every day before 6 a.m. We were out on the track, lifted weights, showered, had a quick breakfast, rode a bus to school from 8 to 12, came back, change, eat lunch, and get out on the courts. And we'd be out on the courts for hours a day and then go hit the track again or the weight room or yoga or mental toughness training, something. Then a quick dinner, a shower, and then off to study hall for 2 hours. 1 hour of rec time, clean your room at 10 p.m., lights out at 10:30. Very strict, very military, and very relentless on teenage kids. But because it wasn't Amarillo, Texas, I was living my best life. I mean, I was quickly excelling and I moved up a couple of groups. I was motivated. I was focused, feeling good about myself. But then life hit me with a gut punch. In November of my senior year, I got word that my grandparents had passed away in an extremely tragic way. See, doctors had recently put my grandfather on Prozac. And my grandfather was the deacon of his church, pillar of the community, and just the absolute sweetest man that I had ever met in my entire life. But because of the drugs, and whatever was going on in his head, their death was the result of a murder-suicide. And nothing, and I mean nothing, was the same after that. I started misbehaving. My grades plummeted. My attitude was absolutely awful, and my tennis was even worse. I started sneaking out of the academy, sometimes just to walk to 7-Eleven, and other times to steal an academy car and drive to the beach with my friends. I slipped all the way from the elite group 2 down to group 4. But I didn't care. I just didn't care. The bad that I had worked so hard to quit was just calling me back. And I just wanted to go home. So I got myself together enough to at least graduate from high school, barely. See, the night before graduation, me and a few friends, we went on a little beer run for a hotel party we were having. And we did end up getting a free night stay, minus the beer and the fun, in the local county jail. Yes, my parents and family that had traveled all the way to Florida to see me graduate were absolutely thrilled. I thought I'd left Amarillo behind, but Amarillo had come back to haunt me. How many times have you quit a bad behavior only to have it return later on down the line? So after graduation, I went to the University of North Texas, and I made the tennis team, but there was a problem. My tennis coach and I did not get along. And I won't say his name, but Fred Scott, if you are listening, you suck. But I got his point of view at the time. I mean, I was this long-haired, multiple earrings guy from Nick Bollettieri's tennis academy who thought he was some sort of tennis god. And my coach was this chubby country boy redneck who couldn't make it, and he settled in life. So he took out his frustrations on good-looking, accomplished, and talented people like me. But honestly, the real reason was that after my grandparents passed, tennis wasn't doing it for me anymore. It wasn't bringing me the joy and the purpose it once did. It wasn't my purpose. So even though I was a good player, I quit. And was it easy? No. But it was the right decision. Remember when I said it is what and how you quit that matters. So quitting did two things for me. One, it allowed me to start working on letting go of this negative emotional baggage I'd been carrying around from the loss of my grandparents. And two, it gave me time and space to really think about what I wanted to do with my life. Well, it would take joining a fraternity for me to find my purpose. And no, my purpose was not to chase girls and shotgun beers, though I did a decent amount of both. But it was through the fraternity that I began to get a taste of what it was like to be an entrepreneur. How? Well, my fraternity was run exactly like a small business. You have a vision and a mission. You set goals, manage people, raise money, look for new hires. And I was involved in fundraising, overseeing social events, training pledges, and eventually became vice president and president of the chapter. And I was good at it, man. I mean, really good at it. It motivated me to work really hard in school and after a short 5.5 years, graduate with a major in, wait for it, recreation and leisure studies. And yes, that is a real thing. I came to realize that I had always been an entrepreneur. I mean, I was the youngest of 3, so I knew a lot about risk management. I mean, learning how to avoid a punch from your older siblings, it'll keep you sharp. But I did. I sold lemonade. I washed cars. I would make perfumes out of these awful potions that I found in my mom's bathroom and then sell it to her friends. I used to sneak onto golf courses and collect golf balls in the ponds, and then I would wash them, repackage them, and sell them back to the members. The golf pro was so furious when he discovered my little side hustle, so I told him, hey, relax. I will give you free lemonade, some perfume for your wife, and even wash your car. So believe it or not, I had a smart mouth growing up. And after working a couple of jobs in my teens, I knew that I had to be my own boss because all these other people, man, they were idiots. But if I had not quit my life in Amarillo, Texas to play tennis, I might have ended up dead or in jail. And if I had not quit the tennis team, I would have never discovered the fraternity and my true calling in the world of business. What do you need to quit so that you can move forward? After college, I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't have the funds. So I spent a couple of years teaching tennis, gambling quite a bit, and even digging in couch cushions, looking for change, but all with my eye on the prize. And then it happened. In 1997, I acquired my first small business. Thank you. Thank you so much. I was 25 years old when I bought my first nightclub and live music venue. And within a couple of years, I bought another bar, and then another and another. At one point, I had as many as 5 bars and clubs in 2 different towns. Along the way, I would marry this beautiful woman and become a dad to this amazing little girl. We bought a house. I was making 6 figures. I was living the dream. Who is Tiffany? Who said that? So how many people work 40 hours a week? 50, 60, 70 plus? Well, hang on to your seats because new studies show that folks that are working a cool 120 hours a week actually are the happiest people on earth. And by happiest, I mean that they've completely forgotten what their home looks like or how to get there. Well, I was putting in those 70 to 80 plus hours a week. I mean, I'd be at work from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., break for dinner, a little family time, and then back to work from 10 p.m. till 4 a.m. or later. Sounds relaxing, doesn't it? Contrary to popular belief, wealth has nothing to do with money. The definition of true wealth is all that we have that money can't buy and death can't take away. No matter how much money you make, you'll never be able to buy back time. And nobody equates being a bad husband, a terrible father, and a crappy friend with wealth. Well, I was all those things. I had no time for anything but work. But denial is a powerful thing. Before my wife confronted me on that fateful day in 2009, I had spent 12 years thinking I was living the dream, right? But what kind of messed up dream involves your wife and kid leaving you and losing your house? I had become so toxic that they had quit me. So what would you do to get back some of the time that you've lost in your life? Some people spend time and others invest in it. You have to decide which one is you. So eventually, I got to move back into my house, but it was empty. My kid was gone. My wife was gone, though she did leave me with everything that she felt I deserved. When I moved back in and I roamed around the house to see what exactly might be left, I opened a drawer in the kitchen and there I found it. 1 knife, 1 fork, and 1 spoon. No plates. I was truly alone. And what is success if you have no one to share it with? In a neurological study by MSNBC, entrepreneurs and CEOs revealed that the emotions that they most experienced were negative ones, like frustration, disappointment, and being overwhelmed. Your business and your marriage, your life can only get better if you just quit the things that you know you need to quit. It's about perspective. What really matters to you in your life? What are you grateful for? It's true that I had found my purpose in becoming an entrepreneur, but I had to figure out how being a good father, a good husband, a good friend was going to fit into that purpose. Either that or I had nothing. So I took a good, hard, painful look in the mirror. I was in bad shape. But I knew exactly what I had to do. I had to quit the nightlife business and my self-destructive lifestyle. I mean, ask yourself, are you the best friend, parent, and spouse that you can be? Do you want to be? Strategic simplification is about quitting the right things that will help you improve your life. But it can, and I promise it will be difficult. After I quit the nightlife business, things began to get better. Eventually, my ex-wife and I rekindled our friendship. We even started dating again. And we even ended up getting remarried about a year after our divorce. Oh, hallelujah! But it didn't last long because my old habits would creep back in. My self-destructive lifestyle said, I'm back. I began to work a ton of hours again. I mean, my business boomed, but my personal life was busted again. My wife and I became distant and unhappy, and we began living near separate lives again. And then after almost divorcing again, we had a long, I mean like Ross and Rachel long talk. And at this point, I knew it was do or die. I didn't just need to quit, I needed to quit and stay quit. So I really started getting serious about trying to fix me. My wife and I, we went to counseling together and individually, and I was becoming less chained in my business. I began to let go of the resentment that I felt toward my wife for not supporting my unhealthy lifestyle. I mean, what a twisted view that was. And then it happened. At age 40, we got pregnant. Now look, having a kid at any age will change your perspective, but especially at age 40 because you've got some wisdom, you've done some living. And I knew that I had to find this much talked about work-life balance, which, side note, I believe it really needs to be work-life harmony. Work-life balance should just be your baseline. But when it comes to work and life, one cannot supersede the other. Do not let your work life override your home life, and in turn, don't let your home life keep you from finding success at work. Balance, harmony. So which one of you in the audience can say in good faith that you have a healthy work-life balance? Better yet, work-life harmony. So here's how quitting began to change my life. I quit believing that work was more important than my family. Shocking. I quit neglecting my wife. Good job. I quit lying to myself about my priorities, and I made it my mission to make up for lost time with my now 16-year-old daughter and really be there for this new baby girl. I quit my sedentary lifestyle and unhealthy habits. As a dad, I had to make sure that I'd be able to watch my girls grow up and walk them down the aisle one day. I started training with Camp Gladiator 4 to 5 times a week, and I got in the best shape of my life. I competed in the Camp Gladiator games, and me and my team even made it to the finals. I mean, I love me some CG. I quit thinking only about myself, and I got in touch with my spiritual side. My wife and I found this amazing church that we absolutely fell in love with, and not long after, I got baptized. And I thank God every single day, several times a day, for what I have and for what I've made it through. So at age 41, I had finally begun to understand myself and doing what's best for me and my family. So if you were to rank your home life, health, happiness, and sense of fulfillment on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you stand on each? So I'll tell you, money does not buy happiness, but it does keep a roof over your head. So now I had to figure out how to provide for my family while maintaining this best version of myself. And I had to do it without working ridiculous hours or compromising my values. My solution, got it. Buy a restaurant. Oh, Lloyd, you idiot. Seriously, do me a favor. Never, ever, ever own a restaurant. I mean, I've had a grandmother yell at me because she said her coleslaw was room temperature. I've had a teacher yell at me and tell me that she would run the place better than me because she eats at restaurants all the time. And then friends text me at midnight to let me know that their fries were cold. And I'm like, hey, I'm in bed, Gary. People steal. Online reviews are poison and nobody is grateful. But other than that, it's great. And I also bought the restaurant not long before the start of that awesome global pandemic. Remember that thing? Oh, great timing. My business was struggling, and again, I was miserable. I had finally figured out what made me happy in my personal life, but I just couldn't figure out how to make it work in my professional life. Have you ever felt like you've got it all figured out only to realize, man, that was a dumb decision? And as all this was going on, life decided to throw me a curveball. And I mean a curveball that had been set on fire with a bomb attached to it. I'd been experiencing some numbness in my feet and in my legs. And I even fell down a few times when I was running or just doing some simple tasks. So my wife told me I should go see the doctor, and as usual, she was right. So my doctor told me to go see another doctor, who sent me to a neurologist, and after a whole battery of tests, MRIs, and a lovely spinal tap, which I do not recommend, in early June of 2020 it happens, and I get this earth-shattering diagnosis. Mr. Banks, you have multiple sclerosis. My first thought was, I'm sorry, what? And my second thought was, what do you mean, no more beer? Walking out of that doctor's office, I did what I thought any sane person would do. I went and I had Mexican food and a very cold beer. And I bawled my eyes out. I guess it was my way of just rebelling against the universe for this bombshell it dropped on me. But I wasn't going to give up. I had come so far on my journey and I was in a better place than I had ever been. I was not going to let this BS MS diagnosis ruin my life. So I got home and I dug into all the research that I could find about multiple sclerosis. I soon realized that my entire life had been preparing me for this moment. Because in order to combat this horrible disease, I was gonna have to start quitting immediately. Quit the booze, quit the soda, quit the way I'd been eating for over 40 years. My wife helped me tremendously. We discovered this thing called the Best Bet diet. It was diagnosed by this woman whose son was diagnosed with MS years ago, but it was brutal to me. I mean, no sugar, no dairy, no gluten, no alcohol, and definitely no fun. But it was necessary. If I was going to keep being there for my wife and my daughters and my friends, what things in your life are you doing that are horrible for your life expectancy? I was doing plenty of them. So I challenge you today to identify what those things are and ask yourself, do you have the courage to quit them? So to help you find answers to these questions and more, I'd like to play a little game show sweeping the nation called Quit or Don't Quit. So when I bring up a topic, I want you, the audience, to tell me quit or don't quit. Are you ready? I didn't hear you. Are you ready? All right, let's go. Putting work in front of family and friends. Quit. Finding your purpose and prioritizing your health. Don't quit. Getting arrested for disorderly conduct at your kid's Little League baseball game. Quit. Being supportive of your loved ones. Don't quit. Eating chicken fried steak every day with diabetes and a heart condition. Quit. Putting pineapple on pizza. Ooh, I know that's a tough one, right? I mean, very, very controversial. We often know exactly what we should quit, but actually doing it is another story. I mean, life is pretty simple when we focus on what truly matters. It's okay to quit the things that don't bring value or joy to our lives. In fact, it's essential. So let's make a commitment today to quit the noise and embrace the harmony, because when we do, we'll find that the life that we wanted was or is right there in front of our noses. So now I've got this MS, and I've got a restaurant that is physically, emotionally, and financially pile driving me into the floor. The restaurant was going to have to get quit. But I still had to figure out how I was going to provide for my family, especially because the drugs these doctors wanted to put me on to treat my illness cost $8,000 to $10,000 a month. Say what? Yeah, when I found out that I'd have to be spending up to $120,000 a year, the thought crossed my mind, I'll take out a huge life insurance policy and I'll fake my own death. I mean, come on, I watch Dateline. And not only that, but the drugs don't actually heal you. They only hope to slow the progression of the disease with this, oh my God, list of side effects. You know, you've heard the commercials. Side effects may include, but are not limited to, anal leakage, clubfoot, dementia, gambling addiction, loss of memory, brain fog, psychosis, paralysis, blindness, deafness, infertility, erections that may last up to 24 hours, possibly owning a restaurant. But these drugs were real. And in addition to the risk of liver failure, other mind-blowing, life-threatening side effects were as follows. Nausea, headaches, diarrhea, and numbness and tingling in the hands and feet. Decreases in white blood cell count, which may lead to death. Serious skin reactions, which may lead to death. High blood pressure, which may lead to death. Hair loss and decrease in sexual appetite, which may lead you to thinking about death. Breathing problems, which may lead to death. I mean, come on. Why do all these side effects have to lead to death? Why can't they just lead to good health and increased sexual appetite? And when I found out these drugs cause depression, I was like, yeah, obviously. I mean, the cost and the symptoms alone made me depressed instantly. And I hadn't even begun to spend the 8 to 10 grand a month with no hair, nausea, and irritable bowel syndrome. I had a heavy mistrust of drugs. I mean, just talking about them would trigger in me all those feelings and emotions that I had about the traumatic experience that I went through with my grandparents. Because I still believe that the Prozac that my grandfather had been prescribed had something to do with what happened to them. But with the support of my loved ones and my determination to be there for my family for the long term, I had to quit my fear and doubt. I had to go for it. I mean, what would you give to be able to spend extra time with your family and friends? No matter how bad it gets, there's always something positive that will come from the carnage. I told this dear entrepreneur buddy of mine that I was finally quitting the hospitality industry for good. And he said, great, now you can get into public speaking. And I thought, public speaking? What are you talking about? He said, come on, man, you've got tons of wild, crazy, and inspirational stories. You're not afraid to speak in front of crowds. And you've got tons of experience as a business person, and you kind of have this like punk rock vibes. Sometimes it just takes somebody outside of your orbit to illuminate those things that were right in front of you the whole time. I mean, why had I never thought about this before? So I began writing my keynote speech. Meanwhile, in the wonderful world of MS, my wife found this experimental stem cell transplantation treatment called HSCT. That's hematopoietic stem cell transplantation, whatever. You don't try to say it 10 times fast. So unlike the $8,000 to $10,000 drugs that my doctors recommended, HSCT had the potential to be even more effective at actually stopping the progression of my MS. It had mostly been done in Russia and Mexico and other countries. So again, after tons of research, I decided I'm going to Mexico. Unfortunately, not in the tequila and beer kind of way I was used to. And guess what? The best part about the treatment? It was free. I'm kidding. Of course it wasn't free. I was going to have to raise about $80,000 for the treatment and all these other medical bills that had been piling up. You know how to make it in America? Don't get sick. I was a good fundraiser when it came to other people, but I wasn't good as a fundraiser when it came to myself. I mean, I don't like to bother people. I don't like to ask for help. But my shame was not going to get in the way of what I needed to do, so I quit. I quit going it alone and I asked for help. And I could have never in a million years have guessed what would have happened next. I began fundraising and I couldn't believe how much good people have in their hearts. I mean, people that I've known my whole life, casual acquaintances, people I've never met. Their simple acts of kindness would change my life and my perspective forever. So my wife and some friends put together this little event, an online auction, t-shirt sales, donations, and more, and we managed to raise over $40,000, half of my target goal. I've also been a Dallas Mavericks season ticket holder for many years, and when they caught wind of my efforts, everybody from leadership to NBA champion and MVP Dirk Nowitzki to current and former Mavs players and announcers sent me little videos of encouragement. And the owner, Mark Cuban, even sent me a check for $5,000. Not very shark-like, but very much appreciated. And then one day I go out to get the mail and I find this lovely Christmas card and a beautiful letter wishing the Banks family a Merry Christmas. And inside was a check for $30,000. And I fell to my knees and I cried. The most moving and powerful thing to come out of this entire experience, it had nothing to do with the money. It was just about seeing all this goodness in people. Because years ago, I had met this kid who frequented my clubs, and he had been diagnosed with cancer and just been battling for his life. And one day I wake up and I check my phone, and he had sent me a Venmo for $20, accompanied by this sweet little note cheering me on about what I was going through. What I was going through. And so, yeah, I cried again. What's the most meaningful and selfless thing that anybody's ever done for you? So by October of 2020, I finally had hit my target goal to fund my HSCT treatment in Puebla, Mexico. So now the fun would really begin. I mean, HSCT can kick the snot out of you. I mean, it involves chemotherapy and stem cell transplant. It tears down your immune system with the hopes of rebooting it and stopping the progression of MS and other autoimmune diseases. I was beyond blessed to have my beautiful oldest daughter accompany me as my caretaker. I mean, with everything that we had been through together, I mean, the ups and the downs, and here she was providing me with unconditional love and support. It is still one of the most selfless and profound things that anyone's ever done for me. And do you think I cried? You are damn right I did. I spent 28 days in a clinic in Mexico, and it was better than any experience that I'd ever had at a medical facility in the US, other than the chemo, of course. I mean, I lost my hair, my facial hair, everything that I've strategically used over the years to cover up this ugly mug. But eventually, I got through it, and I was heading home. At this point, I have zero immune system. I couldn't be around people. I could not get sick because I'm told something as simple as a cold or food poisoning could kill me. So 3 days after I get home, my wife gets COVID. Great timing, right? So now I have to isolate from my wife and my child. I mean, we're wearing masks around the house. My diet is painfully strict. No cookies, no cake, no Skittles, still no fun, and still more importantly, no beer. But would you quit everything that you're doing right now on a moment's notice to be there for the people who matter most to you? So a few months pass, I'm feeling better, feeling stronger, my hair is growing back, I started working out again. I even decided I'm gonna go play softball with my boys, because it had been months. Well, I was the pitcher on my team, and my friends and I, we had been playing together for the better part of 15 years, and we didn't take it too seriously. It was less about softball and more about winning game 2, which is what we call drinking beer in the parking lot after the game. So I pitch a ball in the 5th inning, and this guy hits a screaming 100-mile-an-hour plus line drive, which hits me directly in the face. I break 12 to 15 bones in my face altogether. So close your eyes if you're squeamish, because here comes a picture. Yeah. I mean, I could not even begin to tell you how angry and defeated I was. I mean, after all that I had been through, and now this. So guess what I did? I quit softball. Because if there is one thing that I have learned in life, it's that sometimes it's best to just be still for a little bit. So in December of 2022, I finally sold my last restaurant. As author Ken Perot said, never quit on your dream, but learn to cut your losses and quit your plan if it's not working. Being diagnosed with MS really allowed me to gain perspective. I wanted a life that allowed me to work from home, to spend time with my family and friends, to travel and truly help others. I wanted to become a coach and a mentor to people. I wanted to inspire. I wanted to teach people to learn from the mistakes that I made, the successes I've had, and the wisdom that I've gained throughout this journey on this rickety roller coaster on fire of a life I've had. So I finished my keynote speech. Now I just had to deliver it. What's the scariest thing you've ever done? My first time speaking was intense. They promised me a mic and a screen for my presentation, and when I got there, they had none of it. So without a mic, I ended up shouting at a crowd of 100 plus for an hour. I had this long, awkward pause right in the middle where I totally forgot my place. I called some guy that I had met in the audience by the wrong name the entire night. But after almost having a heart attack and just wanting to quit for the first 2 or 3 minutes, something magical happened. I remembered that 50 years of experience had brought me to this moment where I could share my story and I could actually help people. I remembered that if I could keep doing this, I could be more present in my family's lives. I relaxed. I became present. I even started to enjoy myself. Oh my, this was my purpose. I put my nose to the grind and I just kept doing it. I made a ton of mistakes along the way, but I learned from them and I adjusted. I joined this great group of presenters called Heroic Public Speaking. And every time I spoke, I got better. And I did everything I could to speak as much as possible. And I finally felt connected to people, truly connected. I mean, people would relate to my stories, my challenges. They'd share with me. They would thank me. They'd tell me about how I helped them quit their behaviors and habits. And I'll tell you that there is no high in the world like helping someone achieve their dreams and find their joy. What do you really want to get out of this life? By identifying my purpose, my values, and the drive to be present in my family's life, I have been able to quit all of those things that had been working so hard to tear me down. I quit Amarillo, Texas. I quit tennis. I quit softball. I quit believing that success at work meant you were successful. I quit being a lousy husband. I quit being a bad dad. I quit being a distant friend. I quit feeling sorry for myself and going it alone. And I began to ask for help. Today I stand before you a 52-year-old man with MS, and I can tell you without a doubt that I am mentally and physically the healthiest version of myself that I've ever been. I work out 4 times a week. I'm spiritually connected. I eat better so long as my 11-year-old isn't tempting me with delicious burgers and ice cream. It happens. Many of the lesions on my spine and brain have begun to shrink, and some have even disappeared. Could they return? Sure. Will I have to live with some numbness in my feet for the rest of my life? Probably. But I'm so incredibly grateful for the HSCT treatment and how no further symptoms have developed since undergoing it. I want to encourage anybody with MS or other autoimmune diseases to at least look into it. But for now, I am healthy, I'm fit, and I feel great. Living with this illness has forced me to wake up and think about how I can truly make the most of every single day. Now, I don't know where you are on your journey. What I know is that it is never too late. Think about who and what you really love and what does your life look like in 20 years. And then quit today. Quit all those people and things that are not bringing you joy or success or value. Start fixing you and your life and your schedule. Surround yourself with people who care and share your vision. Give people reasons to succeed. Be the person that you always wanted and planned to be, because I promise you, you never want to see that look that I got from my wife all those years ago. You don't want to see the hurt in your child's eyes when you disappoint them one more time. And you don't have to. You have the power to control and fix it, so don't wait to get to that point. Start fixing it today. Quit. Because let me tell you what I finally did, and I finally did it right. I quit. And now I do yard work. I do dishes. I do laundry. Is it because I want to? No. But it makes my wife happy. I talk to and I see my family and friends now more than ever. I do not miss my kids' events ever, period. Instead of being a cash register, I insist on being a great husband, father, and friend. And do I succeed daily? Yes. Yes, I am perfect now. No, of course not. But progress over perfection, right? But I challenge myself constantly to be that person that I want to be, that I believe God wants me to be, and to be the person my family and friends need me to be. So why? Why is life going so well for me? Because I quit. I quit doing the things that didn't matter and were actually doing me harm. Author Adam Kirk Smith said, "When quitting is done correctly, it isn't giving up, it's making room for something better." My message to you is not to quit your job. I don't want you to quit working. I want you to quit letting work own you, or quit that bad relationship, quit that team that is failing you, or the drink or the drugs or the shopping or whatever it may be for you. Quit. Quit. Because until you do, you are no good to your business, to your life, or to the people who love you the most. Quit all those things that don't matter so you can live a life that truly does. There are always better days ahead. My name is Lloyd Banks. God bless.